Episodes of the Green Corn Rebellion Show are sponsored by Oklahoma Progress Now. Oklahoma Progress Now is a 501c4 organization focused on building progressive power in Oklahoma. Their primary efforts are on developing progressive content for a 21st century audience, coalition, and capacity building across progressive organizations and causes, and working to see elected leaders who are more responsive to their constituents and the needs of the many. Areas of focus include progressive messaging and communications, coalition building and resource sharing, and focused progressive policy goals. You can check out their Twitch live streams, and they go live on Facebook on at noon, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Please support this organization. It's a really great organization. It's just getting started here in Oklahoma. Thank you. Now enjoy the rest of the video. Hello, this is the Green Corn Rebellion Show. I'm Gregory Harden II. Today I am here with Ryan Henriquez, the bassist for the new metal band Cane Hill. How are you
What's
doing
up,
today?
guys? I'm all right. I'm living. I got off work a few hours ago, took a massive nap, and actually, I just ate some canes. I went to Walgreens and picked up a few things I need for the house, and now we're here. Just enjoying the day, or what's left of it.
That's great. I just thought of an idea. Like the band Cane Hill should like do something cool with like raising canes. Like that'd be kind of
Mm,
cool.
yeah, maybe if we're popular enough one day, they'll take a notice to us. Until then, I think we'll have to be as like big as New Orleans Saints or something like that to have them be like, "Hey guys, we should collaborate."
Well, the first question I have here is where are you from and where'd you grow up?
I'm from New Orleans, Louisiana, and I grew up in New Orleans, Louisiana. I mean, obviously there was other areas of New Orleans. Um, it's a small city, but it's got different sections, you know. So you got like Uptown, Mid City, the West Bank, Metairie, Harahan. It's all kind of like these parts of the city that you could group it all together, but you know, in some spots it is technically a different city. But grew up all around within the area, and then my grandparents also had a weekend house, so I would go to Poplarville, Mississippi, and shoot four wheelers and ride BB guns, or yeah, shoot guns and ride four wheelers, and you know hang out in the woods and stuff like that. So, weekends was spent doing that, and weekdays was going to school and being a normal guy. Went to Catholic school. You know, most I can't say most, but Catholic school was a very common thing for most kids in New Orleans, in the greater New Orleans area.
All right. So what made you start playing bass guitar?
Oh man, I don't know. Just always a fan of metal. My dad kind of raised me on Pantera and Black Sabbath and Judas Priest and Metallica and stuff like that. So we always had a fascination and just an ear for metal. Just kind of what I knew growing up as a kid. So actually, the one moment where I realized I wanted to buy a bass or I wanted to have a bass or play that instrument at some point was this guy I used to know. Actually, he got me into a lot of my new metal bands too. He was into like all the cool bands that were hype back when AP covered bands like Power Man 5000 and Static X, and they were more into more so of the music than what they try to cater to today, and everything always kind of changes and morphs over the years. But when I was going to his house, he had the AP print out middle section of the magazine posters, and it would always be cool guys like Wayne Static and stuff like that. So I would go over and I'd listen to him play, and he'd play Loco by Cold Chamber and all this random stuff, and it'd be like, oh man, play that again. So I just always thought it was so cool that he could just shred my favorite songs. So one day his friend comes over and excuse me. One day his friend comes over and he's got a red precision bass. So I think it was a Squire at the time. And I was just like, I was just a kid and they were like, pick a song. What do you want to hear? And I spat something off the top of my head. Can't even really remember. And I remember looking at that red P bass and going, man, that thing is so fucking sexy. Like, don't know what it is. Like, I've seen guitars before. I played piano as a kid, so I was around instruments. But there was something special about that. Those big strings on that bright red body. I don't know how to explain it. It was just attractive to me. So I watched him play with my friend, and they played a song together. And I just thought it was the coolest thing, man. Like, yeah, 6 strings is rad. Like they sound gnarly and they give you the jun 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 effect, but I don't know, I've always been a fan of like underdogs or things that aren't noticed. you know Honestly, some of my favorite movies are movies that you go back and watch them over time and you find something new again that you didn't notice before. I'm always kind of like I don't know how to explain it, but the underlining of a situation or something like that always appeals to me. So to see this guy rip this 4-string bass and it sounded so good in unison with that guitar, it's like, man, I got to have me one of those. So that began the initial, like, I guess, urge to want a guitar. So my first guitar was a Korean jazz bass, Squire jazz bass, from a pawn shop in New Orleans, and that was the first instrument I ever made noise with. That was my own.
That's cool. Um, how did you end up in Cane Hill?
Well, Cane Hill was a formation of all kinds of different, you could say, all stars, or how every local scene for anything really, whether it's music or sports or they always have like a scene where multiples of people will come out, but then you always have, and I'm not going to say an elite because they're it's just a dumb word to use, because what does elite really mean? You have those people that really take it seriously, and they have this stature about them that kind of separates them from the people who are playing the game and the people who are actually being successful with the game. And that's the best way I could put it to you. Growing up as a kid, whether it was music or paintball, it's like you can always tell when someone takes it seriously by their demeanor, um, the way just the gear they buy. You can always tell that someone put something into something, and then you can always tell the people who are just there to have fun and go through the motions, and just, I'm out here to play with my friend's band for the night, as the other 4 guys on the stage are really killing it. So Cane Hill was a collection of some of the most, I guess you could say, in it to win it guys within the city that were willing to sacrifice a lot of their young lives to go out and pursue something that is kind of like a pipe dream. You know,
Mm-hmm.
not everybody gets to say that their band has done the things that we have done in a matter of 4 years. It's just unheard of. And if somebody would have said, you're going to go do those things, I would have been like, you're crazy. So that's how Cane Hill basically came about, of everybody being in local bands, playing in the same venue all our bands break up. So I was actually in a band before Cane Hill, and it was a small group called Miracle at St. Anna, and we were signed to Tragic Hero Records, and we were under Artery. We did a few tours, such as Greeley Estates and Legend and Attila, and that's kind of where I got my beginning in the scene. I just happened to meet a whole lot of people before I even came into Cane Hill, and then when I got to Cane Hill, um, it was actually a different band name at the time and a different group. They were in the transition of what you will have heard in the future. So my first take with Time Bomb was actually a mistake. I wasn't supposed to hear it. If you don't mind me telling you that story, I'll share that with
Go
you.
ahead. Yeah.
So James, we all pretty much designate James's house. James is our guitarist. He we designate his house as Cane Hill HQ. So he's got the practice room. He lives in the woods, so it's out there in the sticks. No one's going to tell us to shut up. We can play and crank it as loud as we want. So um, there's not enough wall space in his house to put another guitar hanger and to put another amplifier. In every corner and every wall of his house, you will find guitars and amplifiers. It's actually pretty impressive. It's a sight to see. But when you go to a place like that, you just kind of assume that, all right, this, everyone in this house is for real, from the parents to the children. So um, I happened to show up to a practice one day, and at the time, the studio that we would do demos on was in the practice room. It's not like that anymore. The practice room is designated to just loud music. You can't even set that kind of stuff up in there anymore. But I happened to walk by and I heard, and I was like, dude, that's a crazy ass riff, man. What the hell is that? And James was like, oh, it's just a side project. And I was like, well, that that's what we should be playing right there, man. That's some heat, bro. And he was like, really? Well, I was told it really wasn't all that great. And I was like, nah, man, that's the sauce, bro. I want to be playing that. Like, do you have more? So, that was really, and James has said it before, that was really the birth of the band, was when I kind of came along and heard what James was doing. And, before I came along, they were basically a B-side Ghost Inside band. It was the Kmart version, diet Ghost Inside. So when I heard that, it was different from what I was kind of preparing myself to play. I'm just not really a fan of, like, circle pit hardcore type stuff. Not that there's anything against it. It just, I like the Slipknot and the Seven Dust, and that's my game. I happened to hear those tunes, and I kept catching him every once in a while on something else, and that's how Cane Hill was birthed. Was me and James kind of sparking that idea, and really, so me kind of igniting that and saying, nah, James, the sauces in what you're doing, that is not even compared to what I just heard you send me a week ago. Like, those demos that I have to play for practice today are far less interesting than what you showed me for 30 seconds on this computer. So that was the I guess you could say the Cane Hill was conceived on that day.
Hmm. That's so cool. How old are you, by the way?
I'm 32.
32. Okay, you're 10 years older than me. That's
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Yeah. So how do you feel about being a part of a new metal band, or what is considered to be nowadays new metal?
Well, it's funny that you call it that. And listen, we dug our grave by saying that we were a new metal band when it came out. But the fact of the matter is, although we had a lot of similarities and could play off that new metal tag, we've actually found that we're just as a whole and as a unit, just we're more metal. It's just after going out on the road and touring with all our favorite new metal bands and this band and that band, we've toured with people like Hollywood Undead to Seven Dust to shows with Hell Yeah, and I mean, you name it. It's probably we've either come in contact or have been in close quarters with those bands before. So what is it like being in a new metal band? It was cool when it was, young and fresh, and that new metal revival was kind of peaking at the time. But in today's world, I personally don't see new metal making this huge resurgence and taking over like Korn and Slipknot did, because every generation has its heroes or legends. Like the 90s and the 2000s, it was Korn and Slipknot. It took a little longer for those bands to kind of dwindle off the youthful podium, because let's just be real, the internet wasn't as fast back then. People
Yeah.
weren't so connected. But these days, we've got Bring Me the Horizon, and bands like that are basically, if someone was like, who would you say connects to the majority of the youth today? Excuse me. Bands like that are what come to mind. It's not Korn or Slipknot or Power Man 5000, like I would have chose back in the 2000s when I was just finding new metal when it was hype.
Yeah.
It was all about skateboarding and listening to new metal, and watching snowboarding videos and just being extreme, like the typical 2000s kid. But yeah, Cane Hill, actually, we just classify ourselves as metal, and metal is a broad word that you can apply to any situation. If somebody's like, oh well, I only listen to Gojira. Well, let me tell you something. A lot of that early Gojira stuff sounds a lot like El Nino, and El Nino is pretty new metal to me. So, you know,
Yeah.
um, it all kind of blends together. Um, it was fun being a new metal band at the time. You could still classify us as new metal if that's what makes you, satisfied or happy, But as musicians and as people, we're just metal, and I'm metal, man. I wear freaking sweatbands on stage. Like, it doesn't get any more cliche metal than that, Like, I might as well slap a Monster Energy tattoo on my forehead. But at the end of the day, it's all about appealing to anyone if possible. And if someone's not stoked on or is stoked on new metal, more power to you. I'm not gonna be mad or bummed out that you don't like my band because we're not new metal or because we are new metal. You know.
That's cool. So, who are some of your biggest musical influences?
Man. Well, I the the person who kind of molded me. Okay, the person that inspired me to want to play bass in a metal application was Fieldy. Fieldy from Korn. Everybody wanted to sound clicky and clanky and fat at the same time. So Korn had it down. It was a sound that most people hadn't heard yet. But I really truly believe that if it wasn't for Fieldy, I wouldn't have gone down a path to find myself connecting more so with Rex Brown and I can't believe I'm forgetting his name. The bassist of Alice in Chains. A lot of these older, groovier guys that are less pocket, more melodic, like Geezer Butler, uh, Geddy Lee. these people that kind of set the bar for bass playing.
Hmm.
Not that Fielding didn't ever set a bar for bass playing, but let's face it, he wasn't the most melodic bassist ever. He was
Yeah.
very much a pocket bassist, and his slap effect and his technique helped him claw and pop out of a mix and add to his band's heaviness. So it wasn't until I started taking the instrument seriously that I began to feel like the way I play, the way I approach the bass, and the way I want to sound is very old school. I love tube amps. I love analog. So, I found myself aggressively connecting with people like Rex Brown and John Campbell from Lamb of God, like those kinds of aggressive, heavier bassists. But a lot of my influence, and you'd be surprised. Maybe one day you'll be like, that makes a lot of sense. A lot of the way I think about bass playing comes a lot from 311 and Incubus. Just bands I grew up listening to that I loved, and just the way that those bassists approached their bass lines and their writings was really interesting and really fun to
Yeah.
listen to and fun to learn.
Yeah. I like a lot of earlier 311. What's the
Hell
one?
yeah.
Yeah, the Blue album. I want to say that's their self-titled. The
It's
one with
Evolution.
no, the one before Evolution.
Oh
It's the
yeah, I
one
know
with
which one you're talking about.
down. Yeah, it's the one with the
Mhm.
down and all mixed up on it. Yeah,
Yeah.
that one.
uh Head full of ideas, let me tell you, like you wouldn't believe. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Yep, that was a really good record. So yeah, those kinds of. I mean, I could go on and on about my idols, but if I had to say, Ryan, who do you really sound like, and who would make the most sense if somebody said, who would you, kind of not compare, but if you had to throw three names out that would kind of give me an idea of what it would be like to hear you and see you play, it would be something along the lines of Rex Brown, John Campbell, aggressive, great tone, just I like heavy music and I like being aggressive. I can't be angry and aggressive with people in my, daily life. So when I get on the stage, that's my time to metaphorically snap a neck if I could, but it's just playing bass. So.
That's cool. Who's the favorite band that you've toured with?
Oh man. Well,
You can name four. If you have
okay.
multiple.
So I have to say Crystal Lake is probably one of the top tier bands that I have ever. I just Before I go any further, I have to say that Crystal Lake is probably one of the best bands I've ever seen live and one of the best bands to tour with because they have this crazy huge European following. They're just massive. It's crazy. And for them to be as big as they are in Japan and to meet us so humbly, like it was weird. Like we should have been, super grateful to have met these guys, and which we are. We're very grateful to call them our friends, but they were the way that they greeted us were just so excited and humbling and proper and just all these types of things that you would do to like kind of make your first impression. And in the metal world, you kind of like, yeah, what's up, man, how you doing, like it's super nonchalant. But uh, there's something about a band that if you've never spoken a word to these guys before, and none of them really speak English, and you can tour with these people without a hiccup, you actually get along, and then you become best friends at the end of the tour, and you still don't even know what the hell you people are saying, like on both sides. You know, they don't know what the fuck we're saying. We don't know what they're saying, but we love them. The same thing happened with Cold Rain. We did a few tours with Cold Rain in our early days, and I mean, we could tour with those guys for the rest of our lives. So, I would have to say it's probably Crystal Lake. Barry Tomorrow was great. Seven Dust was amazing. I'm gonna go off on a tangent. Atreyu was awesome. Motionless in White was phenomenal. And the list can go on and on. You know, Of Mice and Men took great care of us. Um, Hell Yeah was, I mean, that's just a bucket list, man. You're out there with Vinnie Paul. You know, Vinnie Paul watches your sets and he likes your band and stuff. Like, that's just, that shit doesn't happen to everybody, you know. I feel very blessed to have been on such amazing tours with such great artists. I mean, you know, it basically catapulted into the professional world of metal, and you don't have a time to think about it. You just have time to go out there and do what you kind of sold yourself to be. So,
That's cool. And who are some bands you'd like to tour with in the future?
hmm. Um, you know, it's kind of hard because I haven't really kind of toured with everyone I could think of. I would love to tour with Spirit Box. I think Spirit Box is phenomenal. I'm obsessed 100%. Um, very excited. You know, it's funny. I haven't been that obsessed with a metalcore band since A Plea for Purging, and let's face it, A Plea for Purging was like 10 years ago. So maybe seven, but uh, yeah, I would love to tour with Spirit Box. Um, of course, I would love to do, you know, the typical Slipknots and Corns, but you know that's you usually want to say that for the last thing in your career because after that, there's no going up. There's just downwards. So, Gojira would love to tour with Gojira. I would do Parkway Drive or you know something along that lines. Um, Doing another Bear Tomorrow tour would be phenomenal. You know, we've already done one with them. We did it about a year or two ago, but those guys are great, just great.
That's cool. Um, I wanted to ask, were you ever into Limp Bizkit at all?
Yeah, I was. I was very much in the Limp Bizkit. I've actually got. I have it put away right now because I just ran out of wall space in here. But I have an autograph. Um, Back in the early 2000s, my father was a general manager at a steakhouse, and the steakhouse was really popular. It was, you know, like in everyone's top 10, Playboy, Maxim, you know, all that stuff. Not like within the top 10 steakhouses of America. So people like Trent Reznor and the guy from Offspring and just you name it, they had been in there. So Fred Durst comes in there one day and my dad was like, I'm not supposed to do this, but can I get your autograph? So I have an autograph and it states, I've just looked at it so much I remember exactly what it says. But in quotations, he put quotation to Ryan, "Life is good, so live." Fred Durst, Limp Bizkit, 2000. I have it framed, and that was what my dad gave me for Christmas, year
Oh
2000.
wow,
Yeah, so
that's that's amazing. Oh
yeah,
wow.
yeah. So you know, when somebody says, "Whoa, dude, you know, what's it like being in a metal band?" Well, you know, it has been a slow grow throughout my entire life of being this metal person. You know, that's so stupid to say, but you know, I've always been into the heavy music. So, you know, you surround yourself with those kinds of aspects, and sooner or later, something around you is going to take off, whether it's you wanting to be a manager or a booking agent. For me, it just happened to be that I was able to play bass, you know, and I wouldn't have been into that if I wouldn't have been into heavy music in the first place. So just super grateful for everything and everybody I've met along the way.
All right. And what plans do y'all have with the band for the future, even though you can't tour right now?
Well, I don't know if our teasing has gone any less unnoticed than it has already, but we have been in the studio. We have recorded music. Trying to tread carefully here because I don't want to give too much away. But there is a lot of exciting new music along the way for you guys. Um, it is a different approach this time. We're not waiting on this person or that person or who said this or what said or whatnot. It's an independent move on our part, and we will be able to give you music whenever we feel like it at our discretion and at our control. So, with that being said, the next few months look very exciting for anyone who is interested in Cane Hill. You're going to get a lot more than you thought a lot more than you bargained for. I guarantee you that. And it won't be half as quiet as a year as it was last year. And it is all heavy. You don't have to worry about, someone going, oh, I don't need more acoustic stuff. Well, guess what? We're going to get more acoustic stuff, but not this time. So we've got music, and we've also filmed a few things here or there to complement those music drops. So, yeah, just the next few months are very busy. Just keep an eye out. I can't tell you any more than that. So keep your eyes peeled because we're not going to give you much warning. It's just going to happen.
All right. Well, thank you very much for coming on. It means a lot that you came on the show. Where can we find you
Thanks for
on
having
social
me.
media?
Oh, I have an Instagram. I am the only heavy shit on Instagram. It's just one word, all lowercase. I'm the only heavy shit with a blue check mark next to it. I am also on Twitter. I think it's OG Heavy Shit is my tag name. Um, and I'm on Facebook as well. And go like my band stuff. Go all over their Instagram, their Twitter, their Facebook, their YouTube, their Spotify, and show us the love.
All right. Thanks, man.
Yeah, no sweat, Gregory. I appreciate you for having me on, and it was fun.